Hello, my name is Mark Baer. You're watching YourTown TV, and I'm with Patrick Tregenza, a photographer, a sailor, musician, and how this happened, why you're here. I had somebody from the Naval Postgraduate School here a couple of weeks ago, and they were talking about the yacht club, and they were talking about you and I said, well, I need to be talking from somebody. He goes, no, you need to be talking to Patrick. He's the old president of the yacht club.
Commodore.
The old Commodore, excuse me. And I said, yeah, I need a new best friend. I want to go sailing.
Okay.
So you're
we'll
here.
Get you out there. Absolutely.
So let's start with photography,
Sure.
because you've been doing that for quite a while. And what's the difference between being a photographer and being a professional photographer?
Well, I mean, for me, photography is my day job. So, and I work in a studio for the most part. I do go on location sometimes, but for me, it's kind of a 9 to 5, job where I come in. I'm given a shot list to create that day, and we have to go through the motions to get that to what the client needs and get it out and get it finished and delivered. So I have to basically create on command, So the difference between maybe a fine artist is, waiting for the feeling to come over them, or the muse, or going out and watching the sunrise or the sunset and, waiting for something magical to happen. Where in commercial photography, we basically have to create, to get an idea across, to sell something usually, or to show something in its best light, literally and figuratively. So, and we do specialize in food at my studio, but I do also product and architecture and people and lifestyle photography, like people interacting with food and that type of thing.
What was your training for this?
I basically took a couple of classes at MPC, and that's how I got started. I was actually studying to be a landscape architect, got into photography on a whim, and just it clicked with me, and it was just kind of easy. And I got stuff easily, and it kind of came to me easily, and people reacted to my images. When we would have focus groups, I'd put my stuff up and people would go, oh, that's great, and they would be attracted. So that kind of, a light bulb kind of went off, like, wow, maybe this is something I could pursue. So I basically assisted other photographers, commercial photographers, for about 6, 7, 8 years. And during that time, as I was learning and building my confidence, and I was also building my equipment, you have to have, back then in the 80s, you had to have, large format camera, 4x5, and a Hasselblad, and lighting equipment, and you couldn't just use a phone or, like bloggers do now. So, you had to have a couple $1,000s worth of stuff to actually, take on a big job. Starting out photographers in cities are able to go to rental houses and just rent a camera for, a top of the line camera for the day and bill that back to the client. But in Monterey, we basically had to own it. So after about 6 or 7 years of assisting, I just, felt I was ready to, take on some assignments on my own. I was probably in my late 20s at that time. And for the first couple of years, I worked out of a garage in a house that I rented in Carmel Valley. And then in '94, I moved to a studio in downtown Monterey. I was in that location on Cali Principal for 22 years. And then last year, I just recently moved to a larger space on Pearl Street. So,
film, digital, how does, let's talk about this progression.
When I started out, it was all film, obviously. It was 4x5, 8x10 transparencies, black and white roll film that we had to develop ourselves. You had to have a dark room if you were a photographer, because you had to make your own prints. So I had that all set up. And then somewhere around 2001, 2, we started to see, these digital cameras that were of the size, of the resolution that could maybe, rival that of a 4x5 piece of film. So, when the cost of those came down and the quality and everything was about the same, that's when I made the jump into medium format digital photography, which was a Hasselblad back. At the time, it was a 16 meg back. And I think it was in 2004 I bought that. And so we shoot now mostly tethered to a computer. So the advantage is that we can operate the camera from a computer. We take a shot, it comes up immediately on a big screen where we can check focus and check color and look for imperfections in the food and stuff like that. Whereas in the old days, we would actually shoot 4x5 Polaroids and wait, put them under your arm to cook them and then peel them. And, 3 minutes later, you'd look at it and go, oh, we got to fix this, this, and this, and this. And then you'd fix it and you'd shoot another Polaroid. So the whole process was just...
So this really changes your workflow.
It changes my workflow. And if I had to go back to shooting film, I would probably quit and go drive a truck, because it's so much easier now. And the whole, pulling your hair out about, because we had to ship our film to San Francisco because there was no labs here that could do it. So I'd have to box it up, UPS it up there, wait 3 days for it to come back, hope that, the power didn't go out or the UPS truck didn't get in a crash. Whereas now, at the end of that day shooting, I can upload all my images, retouched, color corrected to the client, and I'm done.
So before we look at some images, what did you learn in film, and what do you think is the value of learning in film that you were able then to take to digital? And if you just started with digital, what wouldn't you know?
I think, with film, you had to really nail the lighting. You really had to really nail the exposure. You had to make sure that the color temperatures of all your lights and all the ambient light and all the stuff that was going on was exactly the same. With digital, it's much more forgiving. So, and you can tweak it in Photoshop and Lightroom and all this other stuff. Whereas when you gave a client a transparency, that was it. And that was all created in the camera. So there was some color correcting that could be done post-production. But so yeah, I think that kind of knowledge base of, and I've got to make sure that the lighting is right. And then I can walk into a situation now and just know where the lights are going to go and what their power settings are going to be and what f-stop I'm going to be without, I'm pretty much right on, like because I've just been doing it for so long and it's what I do every day, day in and day out. So I think film probably helped just, drill into me the importance of, getting a proper exposure, getting good light. But as far as, composition and all the other stuff, that's all pretty much the same.
So yeah, that's a trained eye, and that's
exactly
that's neutral.
Exactly, but it is a huge workflow bonus for me. Like for instance, if I'm shooting tethered to the computer, I can actually with my iPad walk around the set and move things and see them move on the iPad. So I can actually compose a shot using this technology, then close the camera, take a shot, look at it instantly, move 3 things, take another shot, which it just speeds everything up. Plus, with film, we would shoot one scenario and we would bracket our exposure so we had it covered. Now we've got the exposure nailed, so I can do 10 different variations. I can do verticals, horizontals, come in close, come in tight, in which we weren't able to do back then. So we can offer our clients a lot more flexibility, especially now with social media. Everything has a different crop, like Pinterest likes verticals and Facebook likes horizontals and websites like really skinny horizontals. So
you can be all for all.
Right.
Let's look at some images, Alex.
Okay. So this is a typical, this is for a grower shipper produce company, Salinas. This is just, bok choy, still life, shot in the studio with, some barn wood and an old crate in the background. So the thing about shooting produce is it's got to be perfect produce. You can't really fake that. So that was probably harvested that morning, brought to the studio, muddy mess, and we go through cases and cases of it to find the perfect bok choy. So
moving on.
And then this is a cantaloupe advisory board. So this is the perfect cantaloupe, and then we've made it a fruit salad. And just created a little still life.
Let's talk about your wife a bit.
Yeah, well, so I met my wife through work. She's a food stylist, and she worked up in San Francisco a lot. And she did like Williams-Sonoma catalogs and worked for other photographers up in San Francisco. And I would hire her to come down. I used to hire quite a few different food stylists, but I took a liking to her personally, and I just kind of liked to give her first shot at it. So. And things happen, and we fell in love, and we're married, and we have a beautiful daughter now. So it's great having a built-in food stylist. And
let's see a few more pictures. Okay, there's the.
This is Lula's chocolate. We did this a couple of years ago, and I think they're still using it. So that was shot in my old studio, and no styling there. We just placed them, but one of the tricks we'll do is we'll go over chocolate with a hair dryer to kind of just put a little. If you have fingerprints on it, it'll make the fingerprints go away.
Wow.
So there's little tricks like that.
That's great.
This is a crab cake. For a client of ours, and I think we had shot them whole, but I said let's just take a fork and take a bite out of it just to see what that looks like. And this is a beautiful fruit tart cheesecake thing that we shot for Driscoll's Berries. So, and I think that was my wife's idea to do the pinwheel thing. So
that's beautiful.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. It's a great image. This is your classic burger. I think we were just testing. We had some time off. She says, I want to do a classic hamburger. And so this is, with all the layers and all the you can see there's a spritz of water on just the tomatoes, but not on anything else. So it's very selective, but, just like you would see in a fast food restaurant. So,
and
this, I was telling you earlier that I've photographed the Pebble Beach Food and Wine event, and I really enjoy being around chefs and in kitchens, and I really especially like to do this type of photography. It's kind of photojournalistic, where I'm just in the background in a kitchen trying to wait for something cool to happen. And like the one on the left is just the chefs waiting for the next course. And I just saw all the hands and the tattoos. And then the chef on the right is Tom Colicchio, and he had just had knee surgery, and he had been on his feet for 10 hours, and he was just in a lot of pain. And it was just like just what they go through, the chefs, they work so hard. So pizza, I'm not sure who that was for. It's been a while, but I thought it had nice colors. And so yeah, this is another produce shot where it's all about getting the perfect product from the shipper or grower shipper. So yeah, if you have bad radishes, you can't make them look good. So these are nice radishes, and it's a pretty still life. This was shot on location at 1833 when they first opened a couple of years ago, and that's actually upstairs. And you can see in the broken egg yolk, you can see the window panes, which is kind of a cool reflection on that. So that's one of their mushroom pizzas. This is also for Driscoll Berries, and that's actual ice cream, not fake ice cream. So we had to make it look like it was real and melty and kind of messy, and so that's kind of a fun shot overhead. And I think that's it. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. So, and shooting food, like we were talking before the show, I had friends at Art Center, and I
Right.
knew that in Los Angeles and Pasadena, and I knew that shooting food was one of the hardest things that they did. It was very demanding. They had to have it right. The customer was very finicky, very picky, and it was not, you couldn't fake it.
Right. There's no getting around having good product, and that is still key to this day. Even with digital and even with retouching, you still have to have good stuff. So
a musician, you play the drums.
I started playing when I was 8 years old, and I played professionally for years. And I think that was one of the reasons I was going to MPC. Was like, what, playing full time kind of takes the fun out of music. So I really should find something that I can do, as a day job. And that's what I was studying, to be a landscape architect, and then I got into photography. But yeah, I still play.
You're in the band
Along Came Betty is a group I founded in 1998, and it was I really enjoyed the music of Art Blakey and the Jazz Messengers. It's a genre called hard bop. It's kind of post bebop, melodic harmonized melodies that are kind of have a hook, and they're really fun for the players to play because there's difficult changes, but they have melodies that people can, whistle after a tune, so not too avant-garde or outside. So I thought it'd be great to start a quintet. It's usually a piano, bass, drums, sax, and trumpet is the usual format for that. And so we were cruising along, and then the piano player I had originally chosen got a chance to go to Italy on a sabbatical. So I was kind of scrambling for a piano player. So I'd played with Biff Smith for years, and he had just, had been ill, and he was better, and he was ready to start playing again. So he came in I think the first rehearsal he brought 3 original charts, and he's pretty much brought 1 or 2 original charts every rehearsal since. In 20 years later, we have a songbook of his originals now that's like 6 inches thick. So we're just finished our 6th CD of original music, and we're going to be playing at the Monterey Jazz Festival this September, Friday night, Garden Stage at 8 o'clock, and it's our 5th Monterey Jazz Festival appearance. So we're very proud, and it's been a great project. It's been a lot of fun.
And then we have just a little bit of time left to get to the Commodore of the Yacht Club.
The Yacht Club.
The ex-Commodore.
I'm a staff Commodore is what you call an ex-Commodore. So yeah.
Oh, you're a staff Commodore.
Once you're a staff Commodore, you're always a staff Commodore. So if you see a guy or a girl in the Yacht Club, and you don't know their name, just call them Commodore, because they were probably Commodore at one time.
One time.
Everybody gets to do it for a year. So it's a dubious honor, but it was a good learning experience for me. It's kind of like being a chairman of a board of a nonprofit. You know, it's my wife was on the school board, I was on the Yacht Club board. The advantage of the Yacht Club board is we have a bar, and she didn't. So
that is a big advantage in my world.
We don't have to adhere to the Brown Act, which is also good. So.
Yeah, that's another issue. So what a wonderful place that we live to sail in. So part of the show is kind of reiterating how nice it is to live here.
Right.
And talk about sailing
here.
Yeah,
I've always said if you live in Monterey and you don't find some way to get out on the water, whether it's a kayak or a surfboard or a sailboat, then you just move to Fresno, because if you're not getting out and enjoying the water, then you should. So the Yacht Club for me right now, we are sailing every Wednesday night. There's a regatta. We usually end up back at the Yacht Club for a barbecue dinner. It's great. We have regattas on Sundays. During the summer, we do a great summer sailing camp for kids from, I think, 8 to 18. We've taught thousands of kids how to sail. We have coaching that coaches Monterey, Pacific Grove, Carmel, and I think also Santa Catalina School. Their sailing teams are coached through our Yacht Club. Stevenson has their own yacht club, or their own sailing team, but we just actually did a regatta with the high school kids this last Saturday. So it's just a good bunch of people. You know, one of the advantages of being a member of a yacht club is you get reciprocity with other yacht clubs. So wherever you are in the world, you can just show your membership card and usually come in and have lunch or have a drink and check out their facilities, which is really nice. So we try to take advantage of that when we can.
So in our last seconds again, how do people find you?
My website is ptphoto.com. So ptphoto, the European photo.com. And that's my website. My contact info is on that. Along Came Betty is alongcamebetty.com. That's the band. And the yacht club is mpyc.org and Monterey Peninsula Yacht Club.org. So
that's a beautiful thing. Okay, Patrick Tregenza. I'm Mark Baer. You're watching YourTown TV. And we'll be back in just a moment.